Hello, welcome to Spurs Kings TV. It's Marlon and it's a pop-up show tonight. Forget the message next to me. It's not Ashmatic tonight. It is Marlon. I hope you are well. I hope everybody is well. It's Friday. I just wanted to do another pop-up session. I want to talk to the audience. So, look, if anyone wants to come on, link is in the chat. You can see it's pinned at the top. Pinned at the top. I just, after this week, I think we need to talk about a few things. First of all, Archie Gray winning London Player of the Year. Starting lineup with Spence as well. Um, you know, coming in, and obviously, what's next? How are we going to be Europa League champions? Are we going to do it? But yeah, hope so. I hope everybody is well. But look, I want to talk about Archie Gray for a second, and that's probably half the reason why I've done this today. Um, I get a lot of people are raving about him. They can see clearly that he is a very good player. However, will he be good under Ange? Will he be able to develop into the player that we all want to see? We have been told he's a number six. We've been told every minute he's a number six, but yet we haven't seen him there. Defensively, he's not the best. On the ball, he's a lot better. But is he going to be the number six to take us forward? This is the issue that I'm having with him at the moment, and I'd love to get you guys' opinions on it. Look, for me, considering when these awards were voted for, I'm gonna go look. There's 7 teams in London in the Premier League, so I'm gonna put it like this. So you've got Arsenal, Chelsea, Fulham, Brentford, Palace, us, and West Ham. And probably when this was voted for, we were probably sitting in 14th, 15th. So we're probably below West Ham at the time. Really, was Archie Gray the best young player in London at the time on the course of the season? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. It's not. Yeah, look, I look at it like this. There's probably younger players. Look, Cole Palmer again. I think he probably fits into it. He's probably still a young player, probably ahead of Archie Gray. Let's take what's his name? Adam Walton at Crystal Palace. Another young player. Should he have got it? Neri, I know he hasn't played much football for Arsenal this season, in and out of the team. Should he have been against Archie Gray? Or do you think Archie Gray was voted for because of the amount of games that he played this season? And he's 18. He's played the most amount of minutes, I believe, with Yamal, and I can't remember the other guy's name that has been mentioned. But have they been constructive? We've let in a lot of goals where he's been in defence. I know, look, I'm not saying it's all his fault, but I'm saying if you're going to play a person out of position, sometimes this is what happens. So has he really been the best young player in London this season? Or do you think it was a sympathy vote? Let's look. I'm going to look at it, right? So he won it this year. I'm going to go through all the winners. So let's take 2018-19. Declan Rice won Men's Young Player of the Year that year. So Declan Rice won Young Player of the Year. Season after, did they have one? It went to Tammy Abraham. Who I believe was at Chelsea at the time. The year after that, it went to Conor Gallagher, another Chelsea player. It went to Conor Gallagher at Chelsea. 22-23, yep, I thought it was. It went to Saka. It went to Saka that year. And then Cole Palmer was last year. Now, is Archie Gray in that? When you look at apart from Tammy Abraham, I'm actually looking at a list and going, the way the players that have won it have been that season when they won it. Has Archie Gray been any at that level? Has he made a massive impact? You'll go, yeah, it's been a benefit to the team. I look at Adam Walton at Crystal Palace and I just kind of go, it's light and day between the both of them. I get Archie Gray's only 18 and he probably will be a fine player. Whether it's for Spurs or not, that is a separate question. A big separate question. But yeah, anybody who's around at the moment, if anyone wants to come on, have their say, 5-10 minutes, I'll keep you as long as you want. Just hit the link. The link is in the chat. It's pinned to the chat. Come and speak to me. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about anything you want. We are here. But I'm just talking about Archie Gray because I'm venting my little bit of frustration with him. I think you can tell I'm not convinced. Come and convince me. Come and convince me about him. And Luke, I see your point. I don't see an 18-year-old in the midfield performing like he is at centre back. I don't think he's performing that well. I don't think he's performing as well. Look how many goals we've conceded. I get he's 18 and I completely get his age, but let's be honest about it. We're not being great defensively for the last month or so. So has his performances warranted to win young London player, or is it a sympathy vote because he's playing out of position? And technically, Ange don't see him as a centre back. He sees him as a right back and left back. And Jed Spence has come in and proven how it's daylight between the both of them. You can see it's daylight between them as fullbacks. And that's nothing against Archie Gray. Look, Archie Gray is a very good player. Is a very good player. And that's the bit I don't want people to get. But I get thing. But he's been playing out of position. That's for start. Has he been playing well out of his position? Is the separate question. And has he been playing? If I said to you, has he been playing better than Adam Walton this season and Cole Palmer? Those are two names that came out of my head. Two names because I believe they're still young enough to win it. Has he been better than those? You'd probably say no. Um, is it down to the amount of minutes that he's had to play for Spurs? And that's the bit I'm trying to get to see here because let's put it like this: the players that have all won it are first team regulars. If we got all our first team back, does Archie Gray feature in our best starting 11? So I'll read them names out again. Of the players that won it. So it was Declan Rice in 1819, Tammy Abraham in 1920, in 21, I'm missing a year, 21-22, it was Conor Gallagher. In, where are we, 22-23, it was Bukayo Saka. And last year, it was Cole Palmer. Now, this is where I'm looking at it. If we had our starting 11, does Archie Gray start for Tottenham compared to those players who were starting for their club at the time? And I need somebody to convince me to why this guy is going to be the next big thing. I get he's younger, but does it make it's not about his age. See, again, Luke, and like you and everything, but he's not play. He's younger, but is he playing better than the players that I've mentioned? This is what I'm saying. I think he's been pretty decent. If anything, it's been the players around him that ain't been great. 7 out of 10. Now I know. So that's really strange. Quite funny. Look, yes, the players around him haven't helped him. So yeah, that's a great point. So does that make him then, if they haven't been great around him and he's not been great, does that really make him worthy enough to win London Player of the Year, youngest young London Player of the Year? And this is what I'm getting at. I don't see it. And even though Palmer's been poor for the last month or so, the way he started this season, I'd still say he's been better than what Archie Gray has. And that's just me being honest. No matter in those games he might have been poor, but Archie Gray has not been as great as everybody thinks. He's positioning defensively. Look, Archie Gray on the ball. Like, let's take his assist against Ipswich last week. Absolutely brilliant, and he pinged the exact same pass against City as well. Absolutely brilliant. When he's on the ball, I've got no questions about him. If he's off the ball, where I really worry. I really, really, really do worry. Tin here. I don't get it at all. If I'm gouging him on defensive duties, I would want to sell him. I feel I can't criticise him because he's been playing that position, but sorry, I can't convince you at all. See, this is what I'm saying. And this is the thing. I get he's playing that position. Completely get he's playing that position. And that's not my gripe. I think he's been doing a great job, a decent job. He's been doing the job he's been given. But has he been doing the job that well? You'd say, if our starting 11 was named tomorrow, has he done? Okay, let's take another player that I'd say has probably done better than him. And he plays for Spurs. Let's take Bergvall. If you looked at the two players, would you say Bergvall's been better this season? Or would you say Archie Gray's been better in playing out of position? And let's look at our midfield right now. If you were to say to me, if we had all our fit players, do you think who starts, Bergval or a Gray? So that's my other question. That is my other question to it, and I completely get it. Luke, hit the link. Come on, come and have your say. Come and have your say. Come and talk to me. Talk to me about Archie Gray. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's rubbish. I didn't get it. I just didn't. I really think that we're at a point where if the we're London awards at the moment, and that was the best they could come up with. And I have to say, and if it's been on the last 2 months, I wouldn't say his performances have been absolutely brilliant. But yeah, Luke, you can join by phone. Yeah, you can join by phone. You don't have to be on your PC. You can join by phone. And we had someone join on the phone last week. If you want to come on, have your say, come join by the phone. Yeah, just make sure you give permission and don't use AirPods. AirPods don't seem to work on the system we use. Okay, they just seem to be um, not great. Got someone in who has come. Who can I always rely on? Eugene, you good?
What's up? What's up, Marlon? How are
Good.
you, man?
I am good. I am good. Look, we had a good chat last week, um, and I've been talking about Archie Gray. I don't know if you've seen. You may have not seen, but he won Young London Player of the Year. What's your thoughts on Archie Gray? Because I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by it. And a lot of people are telling me he's 18, he's playing out of position. I get that, but have they been performances to go, you have been the best young London player this season?
You know what? I rate him, and it's not for anything specific. When I just watch him play, I just see that he has it. The it factor.
Yep,
He can read the game. He has the game IQ. I just feel like he has all the attributes to be a good player for us.
yep,
Whether he'll develop as needed, we'll see.
yep.
But just given where he is right now and kind of his feel for the game, just some small things that he does on the ball, especially,
Yeah,
I
on the
just
ball,
feel
I
like,
rate him on the ball. I
yeah,
rate him highly on the
yeah,
ball. And when he gets on that ball, I really do rate him. And I've said this
yeah,
from the beginning. I really do rate him. My worry is when he's defense. It's him defensively, and I don't think he does read the game that well. And that's where I'm coming into this because I've seen moments of him this season, and people won't highlight them because they'll blame Dragusin, they'll blame him Ben Davis, and he was getting a pass, and I was like, why is he getting a pass? There was a situation where people were blaming Spence and I can't remember who it was in one game, and it was actually due to Archie Gray. Against, I think it was against Villa, not Villa, Newcastle, and everyone was blaming the two other centre backs. I was like, no, Archie Gray, if he's actually steps up where he's supposed to be in line with his defence, he stops
yeah,
that cross.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously, I'm not as critical just since, as you said,
It's
he's
not even,
playing
yeah,
out of
it's yeah,
position.
it's yeah. It's not. I'm not being critical of him. I
Right.
don't see what everyone else is seeing. I
I
don't.
just think,
Yeah, yeah,
Marlon, I just think this experience is going to help him in the future, especially if CDM is his position,
yeah,
knowing where everybody's supposed to be on the defensive side, just knowing where the fullbacks are supposed to be, knowing where the center backs are supposed to be. If he is that CDM, it's going to help him in the future. He's definitely not a center back, right?
yeah.
He's
I,
not built like one,
I,
and he obviously doesn't have the instincts yet.
I don't think he's a
But
DM either. If I look at his game and look at the way he plays, I think he's going to be a centre midfielder, but I don't think he's going to be a DM because he's too good on the ball and going forward. I've got a feeling we've got a situation here where he could end up later on in the future becoming a winger, becoming a number 10 or a number 8 because he's that good on the ball and going forward. And when he was at Leeds, you saw that most of the positions he got in at right back because that was the other thing. He hasn't played DM for a year now.
right,
When he gets into certain positions, he's very good at passing the ball into the right as and making that decision.
right.
And my problem with this whole him winning this Young London award is I don't think he's actually played very well at centre back to justify to win it. I don't think his performances have been amazing. They have been a job that he's had to do. If I said to you right now over the last 3 months, actually, who's developed better as a player, Bergval or Gray? I'm gonna sit. I'll be honest. I look at it now. If I look at our starting 11, and this is if everyone's fit, Bergval's in it. Gray's nowhere near it,
Yeah, I
and that
agree.
and that's
I
and that's
agree.
why I don't get. this London how he's won it. I really don't understand it. I used Adam Wharton as an example earlier, as somebody who's under 21 still. He's had a good couple of months. Yeah, he was injured at the beginning, but I would say he has been in the games that he's played. He's been so instrumental to what Crystal Palace has done, especially when they started to get their players back. That he probably deserves it over, and he's not playing out of position. His performances have been better. I get you. Everyone's going to tell me he's playing out of position, but I'm looking at it. If he's playing out of position, those performances have still got to be at a certain level, and they're not for me. They're just not at that level where I'll go. He deserved to win that award.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, also, he's
And
been
this is not me
playing.
shitting on him. This is
No,
just
right? No,
me.
no, that's
This
fair.
because
Yeah,
I'm looking at it going. I think Archie Gray is a very good player. I'm not sitting there going he's crap. He's this, that, and the
yeah,
other. I just don't. We've conceded so many goals, and I'm going to just throw this in there. I don't know if you heard me. When this was probably voted for, we were probably the worst London team in the league at that point before we took over West Ham. I think West Ham were probably in front of us when all this was voted for.
yeah.
And you're going to sit there and tell me out of all the London teams that Archie Gray was the best young player out of all of them that they could pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to do with him having to play twice per week for
Yeah,
what, four
for two
months
months.
now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I get that.
or
Yeah,
3 months,
yeah,
and being
yeah.
fullback and center back. So yeah, I agree with you. But again, maybe I am biased a bit. Maybe I haven't watched all the games carefully, like you have, I'm sure. But I just, for
Yeah, but
example,
everyone watches it in
Romero,
different ways. Yeah, everyone watches it in different ways,
right?
and
But
this is the
I'm
beauty
just
of
saying, like,
football. Yeah,
look, for example,
yeah.
when Romero played, I can point out exact games and exact mistakes that Romero has made that cost us goals.
Yes.
Like, right?
Yeah.
With Archie Gray, yeah, like it's not as simple. I I don't remember him making really bad mistakes. I agree with you though. His positioning isn't there yet, but I
Do you?
haven't seen him games where he actually caught, like he
So for
cost
me,
us.
yeah. So for me,
You know
so
what I
this
mean?
is where this is the difference between him and Romero. Romero would make mistakes positionally where it comes to his area and on the ball. But I think what a lot of people have done with Archie Gray is gone. He's 18. He's playing out of position. Let's look at the other centre backs.
Yeah,
Let's take. I'll give you a prime example of that. The first game of the season against Leicester, everyone blamed Romero, but didn't look at Van der Ven's positioning, didn't look at what your doggy was doing, and didn't look how Porro was nowhere to be seen. And it's only since Romero's come out, everyone's now starting to looking at Porro because Spencer's come and shown actually between the doggy Porro and Spence how it's actually meant to be done. And
yeah,
I think he is getting away with it. Like Nita said, right? Gray is doing okay, and that is for me. That is completely true. He's showing enough maturity. Again, for young player, there has to be senior players have been out. Yet, who else could have played there? Agree with that statement. I just don't agree that he was the best player and young player in London.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
that's that's the bit for me. And
yeah,
I'm not seeing what everyone else is seeing. Like you said earlier, you went there's you think he's going to turn into a good player and this that and the other. I'm not seeing that he's going to turn into a DM as a good player. If if a manager comes in, I think if they could see him in where Bergval's playing now, I think he'd do probably a half decent job where he's not relied on his defensive duties and actually can push forward. And who knows, he might end up being a number 10 or a winger.
I mean, my fear with him is that he becomes a utility player where they'll
That's
plug
the
him in.
biggest issue.
So
Yeah,
yeah, and that's always an issue because then he'll become like a James Milner in the day. He's a good player, but he didn't really have a. He was a winger, a midfielder. So I'm afraid in order
and
for him,
he never got that starting. He'd
exactly,
be in and out the
right,
team. He was good at it.
exactly,
Don't get me wrong. He made a bloody good career out of it, an excellent
but
career out
not
of it.
an
But
elite player.
you'd never go. All of those clubs would never sit there and go that he was at and he won things like that. Be the
Exactly,
Liverpool, Manchester City, and go, ah, yes, James Milner was this, James Milner was that.
exactly. So I want him. Yeah, I mean, I think for his development, this year is definitely it's helping him play different positions. But I'm hoping that coaches finally say, okay, you know what? Like, if you're going to be a six of the future,
Yeah,
you know, play him at a six. The issue is you don't see any 18 or 19-year-old sixes because that's a position where you have to be a man. You need to be mature. You need to be
everyone has
strong.
said
You
that.
know
A
what I
lot of
mean?
people say that.
So
Yeah,
it's going to take him a
100%.
couple. But I feel like for like right now for being 18, 19, he's good enough defensively where if he bulks up, his awareness. is there where he could be that hybrid six or a six, like an offensive six that we need.
He
And I
looks like
feel like
yeah,
him and Bergval, you know what? I now, as you said, I rate him
yep,
as much, if not more, than Archie Gray at this point, just
yep,
given what he does. Again, he's rushing the ball or even off the ball, he makes silly mistakes. But again, like with Gray, when you look at him, I'm like, this player has it. He doesn't hide from the ball. He wants it. He
yep.
has the bravery, right? So I feel like,
And he makes mistakes. We're not. I'm not
oh,
sitting
for
there going to
sure.
say he's perfect. He's not. He's not making. You know, he's not been great. But this is where I look at it, and I'm looking at it going. Actually, I think Bergval's been a better player over the last 2 months. And not. And that again, Archie Gray's playing out of position. Bergval technically is not, but Bergval's performing at a very good level and has actually now, if you look at it, is a first team player. But quickly before I let you go, I wanted to get your opinion because I know you're a big Ange. You like Ange, you like what he's doing. You know you makes mistakes. I get you. You see it both sides. Was he wrong or was he right to drop Spence, Kulu, and Son for Wednesday's game?
Um, I mean, to be
More,
fair, so as far as
more
Ange,
Spence. Yeah, it was more
I
Spence.
stopped defending him. The only reason when like I come in and defend him when all the blame is on him and not on the
Yeah,
players. I'm like, hey guys, like right. But yeah, as far so I did say there's no excuse not to start Spence game in game out, right? Cool. So he's the only. It's like him and Bergval. It's funny, like and
yeah.
Solanke when healthy, they have to play every single game. However, I can see given our injuries that Ange wants to rotate. And Spence has been playing also twice per week for, what, last month or so. And Kulu and Son, yeah, they're exhausted as well. So even though I did want to see Spence, but I understood why Ange would want to rest him. Um, but as we all saw, he makes a huge difference. I mean, Poirot and Destiny, I don't know what happened to Destiny, but he does not look even half the player that he did last season. It He was shocking, to be honest. So um,
Adams asked a quick question before I let you go. Do you agree that the start that we need a new coaching staff?
I mean, so my issue with Ange initially was that wherever he goes, he doesn't have a coaching staff, which
Yeah,
is very strange to me. I don't know who else does that, but like Poch has his people, like every manager has his people.
yeah.
So I mean, if Ange goes next season, whoever comes in, I think it would make sense that they bring along a coaching staff. I just feel like Ryan Mason and who's the other guy, Jet,
Yedniak.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they're. I don't think they're the level that we need for coaching. Right? We need actually good coaches. If Ange has a hands-off approach, right? If he's a manager, he doesn't coach day in day out, which is fine. Some managers do that. He needs a coaching staff that knows exactly what he wants to do and actually
Because
coaches the players.
they're learning
Because
with
based
him.
on how we
Yeah.
play, I have no idea what's being coached.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we look great, but sometimes we're all over the place. So to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, hey, like how can the players know what they're doing one day and not the other day? Like,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah,
what's the
when it
issue
comes to
here?
with the coaching stuff, because what I'm getting from what's going on right now is that when you take your coaching staff with you, they don't have to learn anything. You're not starting
No.
from scratch. They know exactly what you want and they know exactly what you're going to get from the players. Where the staff we've got now and the staff we had at Celtic, they were all probably learning on the job right there, and that's why Celtic failed in the Champions League in Europe because they were these coaches trying to coach this system that they've probably learned for the first time
Yeah.
when Ange walks through the door, and it's kind of like you need to kind of keep your coaching staff consistent. Yeah, you recycle them, but Alex Ferguson was the best at it. He always used to keep an assistant manager for a certain period, recycle, but his coaching staff behind them, he'd change them once in the blue moon. And then when he changed systems, he'd change them. But they'd always be there consistently with him. And it's the one thing I never understand because with Mourinho, Conte, and all them, like Nuno wanted to bring in his staff when he came to us. And because he wanted the job more than his staff, he said, all right, I'll take the job, gets sacked, takes them all to Forest with him, and now he's reaping the benefits of it. So
Yeah. No, for
it
sure.
is.
I agree. We definitely need better coaches. Plus, we also need a coach on the pitch, one or
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
So, right, like the extension of the manager who can tell players what to do, where to go, like a senior player. Because right now, again, I expect that from Bentancur or Romero, but it doesn't seem like they're doing it.
And
When we're
Romero's been out for
struggling,
months. Yeah.
we
So
need that midfielder,
yeah.
especially like if it. I mean, in the perfect world, your leader would be a 6 or an 8, saying, "Hey guys, like this is where you need to be. Hey, like Brookval, this is where you need to be." But it seems like when we're in trouble, everybody's running around and nobody's really taking charge. So yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely need coaches, and we need some leaders or some coaches on the pitch as well. So
Eugene, thank you as always.
big up, Marlon.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll speak again.
Yep,
As
for sure.
always.
All right,
Thank
big
you.
up, everybody.
Big up, big up, big up. Let's see if this works. Luke, you good?
Hello, mate. How's it going?
I'm all right. I'm all right. You know, you wanted to, you were itching, weren't you? You were itching.
Mate, I've got too involved in Spurs. It's taken over my life recently, man. It's not good.
I'm going to partly apologise for that because I brought you on, and it's like, yeah, you got to get. It's what happens with YouTube. I've
Mate,
seen you on a couple of the others as well, getting in the
when
chat.
you're an Ange, you've got to fight your corner, and you've got to
defend him. Do you know what the worst thing is? All right, quickly on that. I said today, I really want to defend Ange right now. I really do. But he always does something, and I just go, "What are you doing? Yeah. What are you absolutely doing?" Let's talk about Ange, but let's talk about Ange first, right? Because you started on that wavelength. Now let's talk about the starting lineup on Wednesday. Was he right, in your eyes, to drop Son?
I don't think he dropped.
Oh, rest them.
But I think this is. I said this before. I have this issue with every manager. There's always players where I'll think, could they have done this? Could they have done that?
Yeah.
Would I have done it? No, I wouldn't have. Could I see why he done it? The only one I can't really understand is Spence.
I'm with you on that. I could understand the other two.
Yeah, I could understand it. Spence. But the only and to be honest, the only reason why the Spence one really don't make sense is because if I'm against Doku, if I want someone against Doku, Spence is my guy.
Yeah.
So that's why it didn't make sense to me.
So I would have so the reason why it didn't make sense. Everybody watched Doku and Trent Alexander on Sunday. Even he did. He's a Liverpool fan. He's admitted he's a Liverpool fan. I'm going to tell you, he watched that game, and he sat there and went, "I know what. I'm going to put Brendan Johnson, who doesn't back him up, and then I'm going to put Pedro Porro, who, with Archie Gray behind him, yes, and it's nothing. This is nothing against Archie Gray. Archie Gray is not the sort of cover that Pedro Porro needs. He needs Romero, because as soon as Romero got injured, Pedro Porro started to be vulnerable again, and everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, you can't defend. We forgot about that." But that's nothing against Archie Gray, because even when Dragoshin was there as well, he didn't help Porro out as much as what.
Yeah, Romero's the one you want there. Yeah, for sure.
But I look at it and go, okay, you rested Spence, but there's no reason to, because Spence hasn't really played the last 2 months like Kulu and Son. He's only started 9 games.
Do you know what? And again, this may be just me being Ange, but I think the way some of the things that he says, I don't think he fully means, in terms of there's a couple of stuff, like for instance what he said about Tell when he went, he needs a rest. I don't think he needs a rest because he's tired. What you need to understand, especially with Spence as well, he's not played continual football for years, really. He's gone on loans, he's then not played, he's dropped out. So his body's not used to playing that consistently.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I do think that he needs a break. I just think that wasn't the time to do it.
No, and I completely agree. And I think it showed our vulnerabilities in that first half, how defensively fragile we were by that one change.
Yeah,
and you don't get man of the match against Ipswich and Brentford, and put in a great performance against Manchester United. That's our last 3 games that we've won, and go, you know what? I'm going to rest you. If he wasn't like for Kulu, Kulu was a bit better against Ipswich, but if I look at the Man United game and Brentford, I would have said Kulu was great. Son got the assists, but again, everyone was complaining. And again, both of them have played every 3 days. They probably did need the rest, and I weren't too fussed about them. But considering it was Manchester City, And considering what he said last year when we played them, when we wanted to lose, we didn't want to lose. Like we didn't want to lose, but after the whole crowd thing, and then he goes and for me, he went and put out that lineup, and I'm looking at going, Manchester City were there for the taking.
Yeah,
they're
100%.
not,
I agree.
Right, they were there for the taking, and if you're going to play Brennan Johnson, you can't play Pedro Porro together. I think the whole world and his dog can see that, and that first goal was down to again them. But that's just me.
Although it was a deflection, it was
quite unlucky. Because Brendan Johnson puts a half-hearted tackle in.
I also think that he's in. I think at the moment, and because of our league position, he's in a lose-lose situation. So
he was.
I'll flip it. I flip it the other way, and I go, okay. I think we need the rotation. I think Cullen needs a rest. I think Son needs a rest. He rests them against Ipswich, we don't win. That's it.
Agreed. Agreed. Because
so maybe he kind of thinks, against City it's almost a free hit, because let's be honest, they're fifth. I can't lose against Ipswich. We might be able to get away with not getting a result against City.
I see that.
Come into it.
I see that. Yeah, I do see that. That's probably what was going through his head. But he can't. But he now puts him in a really, really dangerous position, because now when he plays against Alkmaar, he cannot lose.
Oh no! Well, I don't think he could lose against Alkmaar anyway. I don't think he could. I think
he could get or even a draw.
Win the Europa League, but if we're not competitive, if we go out to Alkmaar, that's him over. Do you know what I mean? You can't argue with that. Yeah. So I feel like Alkmaar's always been the game that he needs to focus on. But then also, again, people moaned that we didn't. Everyone blamed him for Doggy's recent injury. They all said it's his fault. He should have rotated. Yeah. We then rotate, and there's outcry. So I feel like, especially with that Ange situation, more than ever, it doesn't matter if you're Ange out. Everything he does is wrong, no matter what, and everything he does is wrong. There's no. I can understand that, because there's three different things when someone makes a decision. There's some decisions where you go, what's he done that for? That is ridiculous. Don't agree with it. There's some where you go, I wouldn't have done that, but I can see where he's coming from. And then the rest you agree with. And I think that middle ground, there just isn't enough of that. Everyone's like, it's either no, you're wrong, or yes, you're right, and that's it. I
think the Spence thing will never, for him, it was always going to be the wrong decision no matter what he did with that one. Because how I looked at it, and I did say this when I was on a panel show, I said, look, Bergvall played 87 minutes against Ipswich. Bergvall's probably played as much as Spence, if not more. But yet he started against Manchester City, which is in a position where he has to do a lot more running than Spence. But yet you've decided to rest Spence and not rest Bergvall. If you rested Bergvall as well and put Sarr in, I'd have been like, you know what? I can see what you've tried to do. It hasn't worked. Move on. But when there are other players in the team that have played less games than Spence, and they're probably in other positions, I was just like, I'm trying to defend you here, Ange. Please stop giving other people ammunition for them to come at you. And I'm getting to the point where I can't defend you anymore. I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated with it.
I think Spence should, as I say, I can understand the Kulu, I can understand the songs, but the Spence one is harder. It's harder to understand. I think he should have started. I think the opposition that he's up against should have been considered. I think that Porro's someone who's also played a lot of minutes. It's not like we're talking about someone who's fresh, but he's someone who's not played it. And even if it was a case of, right, Doku's going to be on it from the start, let's get Spence on for 60, and then we'll bring Porro on after that for half an hour when Doku's a little bit more tired, whatever. Then that would have been what I would have done.
Because I would have started, to be honest, I would have started, and I probably still wouldn't have made any difference, but I would have started him at left back, because Udogie, like you said earlier, Udogie's been out, in and out of the team, and he obviously came off on 60 minutes against Ipswich, so obviously he's still not fully fit, and he obviously came off on Wednesday, and it was always going to be the plan for Udogie to come off, but I think they should have just done it the other way around and had Spence on the left back. And personally, it might have not made any difference, because you still would have had Porro and Johnson out on that right-hand side. So it probably would not have made any difference. But at least we kind of were on, you know what, you've rested some players, you're kind of easing them back in. We can see what you're trying to do.
But the other one thing I will say is, from a content point of view, at least we can talk about who he should have been playing and not every person that he has no choice but to play.
Do you know what? So when he picked that lineup, I agree with you. At least there's going to be something to talk about. And actually, Spence probably took about 45 minutes of the conversation because of that reason. And people, look, a lot of people, it was very split onto what people thought Ange should have done. As some people agreed with Ange, that was the right changes to make, and this, that, and the other. And then they sit there and go, if we, we nearly got a point out of it. But I'm looking at it going, okay, you're saying we nearly got a point out of it, but if Man City take their chances in the first half, which against it was a half-fit Haaland, you could blatantly tell he wasn't 100% fit. And is it Savinho, when he misses that chance, City put them away. City usually put them away, so that's how lucky he got in that first half that we weren't 3 or 4-0 down. And it would have been a totally different conversation for the rest of the week.
Yeah, 100%.
And then obviously we got back into the second half, which is great, but the first half for me was so concerning because we've seen a lot of those first halves, I think, all season, where we go 1-0 down and we've had to fight ourselves back in the game. Because even when we had our fit players, I think that was don't worry, 1-0. A lot of us weren't worried because we'd all usually get back in the game. That it was at that point, and we always go, we can't live like this for too long because there's going to be a point where it comes, and it obviously did because we got the injuries, and then the rest is history. But
I think the one thing that I'm surprised you haven't mentioned yet is the whole Werner Moore situation.
Do you know what? I think no content creator has probably mentioned that because I think it's one of them that even the Ange people that love Ange that much are looking at it going, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I completely agree. The only thing I will say, and this is going to be controversial, and the chat's probably going to go mad at me, but when Moore started games, you can tell physically he's a child. You can see it.
I agree with that.
In terms of against City, he's going to come on wide. He's going to come on against Guardiola, who's an absolute monster.
Yeah,
and he's going to come on against. Sometimes they play that Kusanov, and they play Nunez, wasn't it? Right back, who is physically. I didn't realise if you look at the stats, he's actually one of the quickest players in the Premier League.
Yeah,
Moore's not going to do anything against them type of players. I don't think he's quite there yet. But having said that, I would have rather had you on the bench than Werner. I think we should just. It's just that conversation's just done with now.
But you know what? That's not even the worst part of the whole conversation. It was the fact that we needed a striker, and he's Dane Scarlett sitting there, who's been okay. He's not been. I'm not gonna say he's sit there and say he's turned down the trees, but he's been a better impact player in the last 2 or 3 games than what Werner's been all season.
Yeah,
and for me, it was a case of Werner's not even fully fit. So it was a waste of time. It was such a waste of time. If you're going to do it, you should have just started him and then then take him off.
Scarlett would have been my change as well. And that's what I'm saying. It's not like it's not. There are certain bits in there where Werner for Moore, I wouldn't have done it. I understand it's a bit more experience, blah blah blah. But then there's certain stuff where I'm just like, why is he shouldn't be coming on? He should be like last gasp. But I agree.
Even the experiment with the front three, I wasn't mad at. I know they're not the starting lineup I would have picked as the front three, Tell, Johnson, or what's his name, Odegaard. But at least we now got to see Odegaard, and now we can make us. I know it's one game, but we can see what he's going to bring. We've seen enough of what he can bring, and whether he's going to make an impact in the starting lineup. And we'd probably all say he's probably not going to make an impact in the starting lineup, but he's a good option to have on the bench.
I don't think we've got anyone quite like him.
That's the thing, and I don't think we do. It's whether he's going to play right or left for me. I think that's the bit.
I had a discussion with some people on Twitter who saying about bringing Manor Solomon back, and I'm like, we've got 7 left wingers. We've got no one on the right.
It's only because Solomon's producing some goods at Leeds, but put Solomon back in Spurs, and you probably get a different.
He's 6th or 7th choice. Yeah. But I think that's what it is. I think the right wing is the big question mark, and at the moment we've got Johnson, and
he's the only one. He's literally the only one. Yeah.
So I know we played Kulu there, but he's not a winger for me.
Come on, let's talk about the last bit before I let you go. On the last bit that you really wanted to come and talk to me about and convince me. Let's talk about Archie.
I didn't say I was convincing you. I didn't say that.
Archie Gray. Come on, why did he deserve that London award over like players like Walton, Cole Palmer, Wanieri? I'm not going to put Skelly in it because Skelly's only been in it for the last month. Why did he deserve that? Considering, as I said, I'm going to put this out there. When that was probably voted for, we were probably the worst London team at that moment. And we're out of all the teams now, there's 7 there, and we're 6 out of London. West Ham are the only London team below us. Come on, talk to me.
At least make bottom is the first part I'm going to start with.
Look, I'm going to say you're not allowed to say anything bad about West Ham on this show for what they did to Arsenal last week.
I was not saying anything bad about West Ham. Don't worry, I've got too many friends that are West Ham fans that are sorting me in the chat. I think this is voted for by the players, I think, or is it voted for by the journalists?
I don't know who is voted, but if it's the journalist, then I can see why they're voting.
Because
it's a simple vote.
I think that is a factor. I think it is a factor. I think people are appreciating just what he's doing, new to the league. And I'm not saying that this is a reason to deserve the trophy, but I've always said from day one, if you're a young player of the year, how people are 23 winning this trophy is ridiculous. Because if you're a Saka and you're 23, you've been playing in the Premier League for 6 years and yet still win this. It's just nonsense.
So I think so. That's because that's the PFA one. The PFA is under 23s, and that one's a bit okay. You can't because Gareth Bale was winning both. At one point. And
as I say, if you come into the team and you're starting, like Saka was basically a starter at 17, 18.
Yeah,
he can technically be 5 years into his career and still playing as a young player of the year. So he'll be compared to an Archie Gray, for instance, first year in the Premier. That don't make sense to me. So
I think this one's under 21, and the only reason why I think it's under 21 because looking at the past winners, because I don't, especially if I look at last year, Saka was too old. When Cole Palmer still fits into that age bracket, I believe.
Yeah, it would have been 21 this year. So
21 this
22,
year. So I'm just looking at the age bracket. So I'll give you. I don't know if you heard when we say the winners were. So last year was Cole Palmer.
Yeah,
and I think he's got this. This is his last year that he can win it. The year before that was Saka. I'm missing a year, and then it was Conor Gallagher 3 years ago, which makes sense.
Tammy Abraham, wasn't it?
Tammy I going to assume I don't know who was that then.
I'm going to guess that was the year that Chelsea signed no one and played youngsters the whole time. He played up front, didn't he get something like 12, 15 league or something like that?
Yeah, so that makes... Yes, he was a first-team player and actually he was a regular.
Yeah.
And then the year before that was Declan Rice at West Ham. He would have been at West Ham at the time, and he was young, because I can tell by his haircut. Now, I look at that and I go, I get it, but should Archie Gray really be getting it on a sympathy vote? Because he's out of position.
I don't think you should be winning it on a sympathy vote. 100% not. I think the reason why Cole Palmer didn't win it is because it's very much the recency biased.
Okay, yeah.
So
that looks, September to November, he was brilliant.
Just gone, like if this would have been a December vote, for instance, that was a year vote, everyone would have gone, he has to win it hands down. But people only remember recently.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why potentially Walton never got it, because Walton's been in and out a little bit.
He wasn't able to win a game.
He played a lot at the start, didn't he? And they didn't win a game. So until they come up against, I can't remember who they played, but
I can't remember that shit team.
So I think that potentially could be why.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying about he's not like he's playing 9 out of 10 and he should be basically starting ahead of Van der Ven and Romero. It's not saying that, but when you're a young player, and I think this is probably why he's not been playing in midfield because of Berroval, but you've got Archie Gray there, and there needs to be some experience with him, and the experience that he's leaning on is Dragusin, and you could argue that Gray has been better than Dragusin. So if your only help is the experience around you, and you're I think that is a big part of it. I think people are turning around and saying we're not saying he's been the best young player, but we are saying that there's not many players in the world that would be able to do what he's doing in a new position, in a new league at 18, and you're not surrounded by if he had Romero next to him all season, would he have been performing to a different level? And I think that the encouraging thing about it as well, just to add, is there's been a lot of times where he's looked like he's got bullied. The lap absolutely smashed him for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. But Danso then looked after him.
But he then learns from it, and he learns from it so quickly. And I actually think that this whole thing, I came on the show a couple of weeks ago saying about the 6. I think by him learning this at centre back is going to improve him as a 6 so much. It's just whether he gets that chance.
And that argument, and this is me. This is not, and I get, and a lot of people said that to me. I don't get that argument. I don't see, because for me, it's his positional game and the way he reads the game. And I get he's learning, but for defensively, I don't think he has learned that much. I get everyone going, he's going to know where his centre backs are and all this and that. But when I see him play at centre back, and even he did it against Manchester City, it's his positioning in certain times of the game, especially when he's in a defensive shape. He's never in the right position, and people are not looking at this part because they're looking at what he does when he gets on the ball and when he's tackling and things like that. But some of those are very crucial because it takes a second to score a goal, and nothing to do. His positioning for Haaland's goal, I wouldn't say he would have stopped or anything, but his positioning for Haaland's goal, I didn't think he was in the right position for a start. There was
Danzo was caught out massively.
Danzo.
To be fair, if they were in position,
to be fair, I blame Doggy for that more because he switched off, but he had another man behind him. So Archie Gray now, and this is the bit where I go: if Archie Gray was a seasoned pro and he saw Danzo go out like that, he's then got the awareness of what's going around him. And I don't think he had the awareness because Brennan Johnson suddenly starts coming back. Porro is obviously, he's going to get cooked. So he's now looking at, do I go and help him, but then he doesn't see Brennan Johnson, or do I step back and step in a certain position? And this is me. I might be saying the wrong thing, but this is how I looked at it and going, if he steps back and comes into a certain position, he possibly could stop that cross. Possibly.
I know. The only thing I would argue is if the cross actually comes into directed where it went, where he actually aimed it, Archie Gray does intercept it. It's the fact it comes on Brendan Johnson.
Yeah, and I get that. But
I think that's like the other part of it. I think if he sat behind, or it would be in front, of a Romero, of a Van der Ven, because I don't know if you heard about the comments he made about Ben Davies. He had one of his best games when it was him and Ben Davies, and he said he basically coached me through the whole game.
Yes,
and he played well. So it's having that experience there, and if he's not got that, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's not been put into midfield, because again, you'll have him and Bereva. I think that is the big problem. There's just not enough experience in this squad.
So I'm going to ask you two questions before I let you go. If Ben Davies is there, does Archie Gray even play? Now, and Danso is fit, so does he even get that experience? And two, if I'd asked you over the past 2 months, who's been the better player, Bergvall or Archie Gray, who would you say?
I think Bergvall has been the best, been better over the last 2 months. But you could then also argue that he had not played well really up until December time. So then does he deserve to win Player of the Year for only playing well for a few months? So, but if Davies is there, I think it depends on the game. I think it really does. I think Danzo's made a good impression. But I think if you're playing,
a fucking fantastic impression. He's coming. He's proven what happens when you go and buy an established player, and who can make an impact. Yeah. And I think he's made such an impact. He might not turn out to be the best player going forward. For me, he's a typical old school defender. Just knows how to defend and just gets on with it. And I think he's been absolutely a brilliant signing. I will give the club credit. When they were stealing him off Wolves, I was like, really? And I hadn't watched much of him, and this is Guy fouled at Southampton, but I think where he's had that 6 months experience at Southampton and been in the Premier League, actually you can see.
Did you watch his interview of Rising Ballers? And I was like, that is a character you need, and that's an underrated thing that we do need characters. Yeah. But in terms of your Davies or Gray, I think it depends on the game. So I would say if we're playing Alkmaar, we're playing at home, I'd have Gray. I think if we're playing away, I'd take Davies, a little bit more experience, a little bit more understanding. Yeah. So I think it depends on. But as I said, I think with Ange's team and my team, they're two different teams. So Gray would be playing. I would find a way to fit him in and at least give him a try, because all we've done is criticise our midfield defensively. Yeah. So if it's not been in great shape, why not try something different?
I'll be honest, there's 2 games that I think Gray should play in central midfield, and he can get away with whatever performance he wants. That would be Chelsea away and Liverpool away, because they are 2 grounds Tottenham don't win at. We could put out 11 defenders, we still wouldn't win. So he's got an opportunity at those 2 games to go and put Gray in DM, and especially when everyone, I think it was the Chelsea FA Cup game for Leeds that everyone always raves about, where he was man of the match. So just do it, just go and do it. But Luke, thanks as always.
Again, mate.
Thanks as always. I will get the invite on the Tuesday show as well. Just give me some time. Me and Ash are not the best at bloody organising that. It's usually one week he does it, one week I don't do it. Like this Tuesday, I was meant to organise it, and No, he was meant to organise it, and we both forgot. So we were like, "Oh crap!"
Maybe
So-
I've been seeing you on you're either on this channel, on other channels,
Oh,
every
mate.
single day. You're working hard. So
Yeah, everyone
He's-
else criticising. Everyone else criticising that we spend too much time on other channels and not our own. So that's why I brought up this pop up so I can actually start doing stuff on my own. But no, mate.
so we're
Thank you
building
so-
it, mate. Getting the names out there.
Thank you so much for coming on. You've been, like, it's good to hear. Look, and I look. It was great to hear someone about what you're saying about Archie Gray, because I need to hear this. This is the stuff that I need to hear. I'm not sitting there and going, I'm not convinced. But if someone else is convinced, I want to know what you're seeing that I'm not, because I could be missing stuff, and vice versa. And that's why I like talking about football. Opinions have got to be different.
That's what football's about. If we all had the same opinion, it'd be pointless. So
Exactly.
it's just when you start saying stuff on Twitter, it's just a poison chalice. You just get abuse. That's it.
This is why I don't go on X so much. I go on X and like sometimes, but if someone comes with a ridiculous comment, you notice that moment where you go, "I'm going to reply." Oh crap! I'm not going to hit send. Let me delete that.
I've thought about deleting Twitter on far too many occasions. There's just too much there.
Mate, I just use it now just to get all the Spurs' latest news, because that's where it mostly comes from. So I just check it out and I'm gone. But Luke, thank you so much. Absolutely,
cheers for having me.
Speaking to you. But no worries.
See you later.
See you soon, man.
Take care.
Let me get my next guest on. This guy, I like talking to football too. Here he is. How you, Dan? You good?
You okay?
I am good, man. It always feels a while since I last spoke to you.
Well, we spoke on Sunday, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, but we were both quiet. We let the others have it on.
And the old dog played in the end, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he get the winner, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Big up to everyone in the chat. Hope everyone's well.
Yeah, hope everyone is well. So Dan, let's talk. Let's talk about. What do you want to talk about first? We can either talk about Ange on Wednesday. We could talk about Spence, or we could talk about Gray. Those are the three topics I've really wanted to bring up tonight. Which one are you more interested in first?
It'd be lovely for you to ask me a question, because I'm always hosting. So on my show, I'd like to be ask some questions and have a little chat about our wonderful.
I'm gonna leave the Gray and Ange bit to last, because I know how you are, and I really want to get in with that with you. But I want to get in with the Archie Gray.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to get in with Archie Gray is because I'm not convinced. I'm not 100% convinced, but most people are, and most people are seeing something that I'm obviously not seeing. I can see he's a good player. I'm not saying he's crap. I'm not going to sit there and say he's not crap. But he just won the young London Player of the Year. And I believe it was a sympathy vote because of the amount of games he's played, more than actually of how he was performing in those games. Because has he been performing at a level where you'd say he deserved to be a winner?
I don't know why he won it. It doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, I haven't got anything really bad to say about Gray. I just think it's really unfair on him not playing in this position.
Yeah.
Brought him for. Yeah. And I think, to be honest, he's done okay. You know, he's not a centre back. He's playing in a struggling team, and I think he's held his own at times. He's not frightened. He does his best, but I mean, you know, it's really hard to judge him until we see him in his position. But winning that award, I get it, Marlon. I don't quite understand it really.
I don't get it.
Probably to do with amount of games, like you said. He's played a lot of games, and it's good for his development to get a lot of Premier League games.
That I agree with. I completely agree. Yeah, and this is the thing. I agree with the amount of games he's playing, but I'm just not seeing. I don't see him as a DM either.
It's really difficult, right? Isn't it? Because we thought he was a DM. He's played at right back, centre back, left back.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Utility Man, right? And it's this conversation, Gray, has been going on all season, right?
Yeah.
And look, I don't think we're either going to see him in midfield, to be honest. Now we're getting a lot of players back. There's a lot of options Ange will have. And it's going to be one of those, isn't it, really? We'll have to wait and find out.
So, and even then, even at fullback now, because I think he was the second choice to be fullback behind Porro and Udogie, but Spence is that guy now. So where does he fit in now, even at fullback?
Spence?
No, Gray.
I just don't think we'll see him much, really. I think he'll probably come on as sub second half of games. maybe I don't even know if it'll be midfield because Ange hasn't played in there. I think he did play him for some of a half once in one game.
Yeah, he did play him for a half. I can't remember who that was against, but he did play him for a half. He didn't come out. Everyone was like, ugh. But it wasn't long enough to say, oh, it was a crap performance. It was just kind of one of them where you go, we need to see it again. I think we need to see a good 60 to 70 minutes in 2 games. And do you agree with me that he's actually, when you look at the bigger picture of things, if Ange wants to try, especially if we got our players back, if there's 2 games that Archie Gray should play in the DM role, it should be against Chelsea away and Liverpool away, because there's no expectations in that game. No matter what he does, like Ange could put out a crap lineup. It doesn't matter because Spurs don't go to those grounds. We have the worst record out of any Premier League team at Anfield, like the worst. And then Chelsea is just a bogey. Look, we just can't. We never go to Stamford Bridge and hardly win. Like we've got 1 win in the Premier League at Stamford Bridge. So they're 2 games that you could possibly go, let me experiment, because you can't sit there and banter me and go, oh yeah, we're likely to win there. When Spurs' history shows you that we don't.
Yeah, it makes sense what you say, Marlon. I just don't think Ange will do it. Ange is a very strange guy. Some really strange decisions he makes, like not playing Spence against City as right back when clearly that would have been a better option against Doku.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Now, I was fuming on Wednesday when he didn't play Spence, but then I got the Kulu and Son. I got it. I didn't understand it because we were playing City, but I got the reason behind it. I didn't get Spence, and I don't understand why Spence had to be dropped. Especially with an 8-day turn. In an 8-day, he's got 8 days to then recover and get back for the Alkmaar game.
Yeah, I agree, Marlon. Like you look at the matchup with players, Man City's strength was their wingers on that day, and that was where all the danger was coming from.
Yep.
And Spence, he would have done a lot better than Porro would have.
Yeah.
He really would have. And he would have gone good the other way as well. And there's decisions like that. It's just part of the frustrations with Vans that we've all had all season. Really strange decision. And then when he did finally bring him on, he brought him on the left back again. And I just don't understand it. I kind of called it. I called it before the game when I was talking about it earlier. That before the game that week, I said, Spence, we're not going to see him. We're not going to see him on the right back. We all kind of guessed it. Did you think he would?
I didn't think he'd play. I thought he was going to play left. I think he will play left back. I think where he's positioned now and what's happened over the last month or so.
Yeah.
I think Spence is in front of you, Doggy.
Yeah.
And I've got no problem with that. It's just that if you're going to do that, you can't have Archie Gray playing behind Porro with a Brennan Johnson on the right wing. You have to make sure that if Pedro Porro is going to be playing right back, you put someone like Kulu with him, or when Romero's back, then you can get away with it a little bit with playing Brennan Johnson, but you can't have Archie Gray playing behind Porro, and you can't have Brennan Johnson being the one who has to back him up, because Brennan Johnson, out of all our wingers, is probably the worst one defensively, and seeing that danger.
I agree, Marlon. And this is the difficulty of Ange, isn't it? Gray really is like a defender now, isn't he? He's like he's a utility man. He's turned him into that position. He's turned Spence into a left back. Yeah. And it's all very strange, isn't it? It's all very odd. Doesn't make sense. It's very frustrating, isn't it? If we were like getting results and doing well, you would understand it, but we're not, are we really?
Do you think he took the Manchester City as a free hit?
I don't know what he wanted. I mean, that first half was we were so naive, weren't we, Marlon? Like, there was just not really a plan, and you just think, when you're playing City, you've got to have a plan, haven't you? They're a good team. I know they're not in their best form this season, but they're still a team which can beat you.
But Pep changed it up. Pep, like if everybody saw Pep changed it up, he went, and this has got to be a first. This is how you know he watched the 2 games when we had them at home and the one away and went, okay, I've got to do something I've never done before.
Drop the high line. Is that what you're going to say?
He didn't just drop the high line. He let us have the ball. He let our two. Most of the time, it was Danzo and Gray playing it to each other because what they would do is then Benson Cole would come back into the middle, but he made sure every other avenue was cut off because he knows, and this is if he's been watching our games, he knows full well when we have the ball, we're not great. We are. Everyone has said we're better when we're a counter attacking team.
Yeah.
And he literally, there was a point where as soon as it went into the midfield or we tried to get it to wingers, shuts down.
They did well, man. They did well. Pep's a funny guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. He was praising us a lot, wasn't he? Before the game, after the game.
Yeah.
He's had a proper wind-up, isn't he?
He's a proper wind-up merchant. I don't take him seriously when he says certain things because he says it, but he's always like, I like it when he goes, I like it when the team comes to attack us and they play. Yeah, I bet you do, because you're just going to expose them. Yeah. You don't like it when you and Jurgen Klopp best it. Like what Ange is doing. He's come out and tried to play football. This is what, after they've just both spanked us. Like,
he said, what did he say? He goes, I don't understand why Spurs haven't won the league, I heard today.
He's come out and said he did say the other day that with all the teams, because obviously he has the worst record against Tottenham. And he actually come out and said, I don't understand why all these Spurs teams have come up against. Some of the teams I've come up against, I don't understand why they've never won something. Which, do you know what? If I give him on that one, I give it to him. But unfortunately, it's only against Manchester City where we really end up playing well.
And our club, does he really? He doesn't get it.
Come manage here, Pep. You'll soon understand why.
Oh dear me.
Just quickly on Ange, I know you're really Ange out, all right, and I'm not going to sit there and try and convince you. But
I heard something worrying today. Someone said to me they think he's going to be here next season.
That was my next question. Do you think he will be here next season?
Well,
not your personal feelings. This is how the club. What you see the club in the situation it is now. Do you think he'll be here next season?
So Levy is playing the give manager time card for the first time for a long time, isn't he? In decades. I think Ange is probably the worst manager we've had for a very, very long time. And to back any manager and give him time, Ange is not the right guy for me. Do I think he'll be here? I don't understand how he can be if, we're on course for probably around about 19 defeats, which is the worst since 2003. Okay,
I reckon we're gonna have the worst home record as well.
Yeah, definitely. And this is my worries. I just don't understand how any manager can survive 19, 20 Premier League defeats, and I think that will be his downfall unless he wins the Europa League. I think he probably looks like he'll be here now until the end of the season. And I think I'm just really praying that anybody with any footballing brain in the club really see, I know we've had the injuries, but they'll look at it as a whole, that there hasn't been any progression, and them defeats, we're not won anything, or we're going to miss out on Europe. And I think that will be a decision that they will make, and they'll bring in another coach in the summer. I just can't see how he can survive it. We talked about this a few weeks, Marlon, didn't we, about that level of defeats. And if you look at any team, top teams or any other team lose that amount of games in a season, they normally lose their job. It will be very odd if he keeps it. I don't understand. He hasn't done enough, has he? Nowhere near. We've dropped off completely this season.
I don't know why this has just come into my head. But do you think? So I'm just thinking about all the managers we've had under ENIC and the players we've had.
Yeah.
Would you say Ange is probably the first manager that hasn't had that X factor player in his team?
X factor player.
And what I mean by that, when you before Kane, we had who did we have before Kane? Was it Bale? Bale? Yeah, Bale. Then Modric. Modric before Bale. I'm trying to think of Van der Vaart as well. I'm going to throw in there. Back when Berbatov again, he was another one. I'm trying to go back now of teams that under Martin Jol had. Who did Martin Jol had? Did he have one? Martin Jol probably didn't have one, did he? I'm just trying to think now.
Yeah, Davids, didn't he?
David Asian Davids though, didn't he? Yeah, Carrick. No, he didn't.
Carrick, yeah. He had Robbie Keane.
So
the
reason why I'm asking that question is, do you think Ange has been dealt? All the players we just named are all attacking players, by the way. So has Ange been dealt a really bad set of cards when it comes to he actually when you come and look at his squad that he's had for the last 2 years,
Yeah.
he done pretty well considering he just lost Kane a couple of days before the window. And then if you look at the squad this year, what they've given him, you know,
I think I was thinking about it today, and another reason maybe why Levy will give him another chance is that he did deal him a very bad hand in the summer, and Levy's looked at that and thought, really, I did not back Ange in the right way for the season we had ahead with all the extra games. Part of me thinks like that, but who really knows? Who really knows?
We don't know, and it's the thing because we won't know because we won't get another manager in this. Well, we might get another manager in this situation, but we won't get it in the sense of it's a really thin squad to have when you've got European football, and the amount of injuries that we had, like I think you've said before, and a lot of people said it's down to the way Ange trains as well, and Areola goes into that pot as well. Like he's not, he goes into the pot of getting injuries, but he hasn't had 3 games a week to deal with for the last 2 or 3 months where Ange has. So,
Marlon, there's literally nothing you could see with this team this season that's improved. There's absolutely been zero. Like, it's so bad. Like, 13th in the league, all those defeats. I know we had the injuries, but we weren't playing well before the injuries. We were very inconsistent, struggling.
Yeah, the
games.
Yeah, the games we were winning, to be fair, we were excellent in the games we were winning. But in the defeats that we had, and they were half and half, it's not going to say, in the defeats that we had, yes, we were losing them by the odd goal, but I take the Crystal Palace game where we did lose 1-0, and we were crap.
Yeah, we were poor, very poor. And this is what it is with me. I can't see anything. We have short bursts of attacking football, very short bursts, and that looks quite good. But other than that, it's nothing really to hold on to. Like, a lot of players have declined. We all start questioning our squad. Are they any good, these players? And it all comes back down to Ange, doesn't it? And obviously the lack of backing. But any decent manager or coach should be able to get that team, that quality of player, better than where we're at.
Yeah.
The injuries, you just play it differently, don't you?
Because the thing,
play with the cards you have at that time.
Because the improvements that we've probably seen in this season has probably been Spence, but that was in spite of Ange. Yeah. Bergvall, because again we had so many injuries and he's finally playing him.
Yeah.
And people, look, I'll sit there and say Archie Gray has improved. I'm not going to sit there and say he hasn't, because I'd be wrong. He has improved. From what I first saw, the guy when he first kicked the ball all them months ago, and I was like, what have we signed here? Actually, I can see what he's developing into. I wouldn't say he's developed as quick as Bergvall or Spence, the way they have in this group. Well, I say developed. Spence has always been that player. It's just Ange didn't play him. But you are right in the sense of there hasn't been an improvement, and it's to see whether we're going to see an improvement next year is the bit that worries me.
Well, what is it? This is what I mean. Like, the fans who who like Ange, what are they seeing in him? In this team, what is there? What evidence is there to say that he's the guy to lead us forward next season? There's just nothing.
Well, there's only one thing which you make the statement of, if he was backed, and
but that's kind of reaching a bit, isn't it? Really, we're just kind of really reaching there. But
he's not. Well, I am reaching. I'm reaching. I'm gonna. Look, I told you, I'm trying to stick up for Ange. I'm really trying to stick up for Ange. I don't know if I can. No.
Yeah, next year, Marlon, would you be looking forward to him managing us another season of?
Why you, Dan? That's a really hard question. I don't know how at this present moment how I'm feeling is. Look, after the Arsenal game, I was done with him. I told everybody I was done. I was done. But I've been to 2 away games since then as well.
Yeah.
And the way we've won them is exactly what I've been asking for all season. Was to get away from a bit from Ange ball and just win the game that's in front of you.
Yeah.
And I have been pleased with Brentford and Ipswich. I've been very pleased with the way we played it. Manchester United weren't really that happy. But we won the game, got away with it, and it was like, thank God, we just can't lose to Man United. Because he changed so much on Wednesday and the whole Jed Spence thing, look, he was right. We've been asking him to rotate the squad as much as he can. He's finally got the chance to do it. I just didn't get the Spence bit, but he's now got to go and basically get through against Alkmaar to make it all justified. Now, if you said to me, like as you said to me, next season, would I be happy if he was here next season? It only depends on the squad of players that he's going to have at his disposal. If he has a similar squad to this season, I'm not going to be happy. And if there's no number 6 or DM or whatever you want to call it,
He doesn't play that though, does he?
he doesn't play that. But hopefully
He
he's
needs
clearly seen. He's clearly. I'm hoping, and this is me hoping more than thinking. And I agree with you. He doesn't play that, but this is me hoping. He has now seen what Manchester City are like without Rodri. He's clearly seen how other Premier League clubs play, and can clearly see in the English Premier League. Unfortunately, you need that sort of player. And that's the bit for me. Like if I said to you that we'd go out and get another commanding centre back, would go get a number 6 for you, and we'd go get not an elite winger, but a winger who's competent. But Ange is going to be your manager. Would you? I know you don't have hope in that, but would you see that actually you'd expect us to be progressing next year? Would you go, actually, I'll give it a couple months, or were you just completely flat out gone?
I'm just, I can't face it. Another season of Ange. He needs to go on an intensive coaching course this summer and really reevaluate what he's about, because this is just, it's unbearable. I just don't stand for the level of defeats and just.
It's the level of defeats, yeah. But to be honest, he's been like that at every club, isn't he? Because I was looking.
It's the performances. When you watch us, we're just so open. Every game, we're so open. We concede so many chances.
It's quite funny you say that, because I was looking at some of the stats in the games we've won, and it's like we're conceding up to 15 shots on goal, and you're like, how are we getting away with this?
It's really bad. There's not.
However,
where you think we're secure and we just really had a really good game, and you think, we really deserved that. We defended well, we played well in midfield, up front. We just don't see it, do we?
I'm going to ask you a question, because I remember we had a bit of a disagreement on the Ipswich. I think it was Ipswich we were talking about, wasn't we? Yeah, we had a bit of a disagreement on how we both felt when we went 1-0 or 2-0 up. And I said, apart from that first 2 minutes, where completely I was like, oh my God, even though Ipswich had more chances and more of the ball, and they had more shots on goal, I didn't. And this goes back to us giving up chances and shots. Are we giving away the shots? When the shots we are giving away, do you feel like they're not as clear cut, even though we're having that many shots against us? Because against Ipswich and Brentford, I would personally say, I think there were shots that were coming from outside the area. They weren't openings, if that makes sense. There wasn't you see like our Haaland and what's his name? Was it Savinho? And all that had open chances on Wednesday, and you were like, oh my God, what are we doing? Against the other teams, and the teams that have had more shots against us, I don't see them doing that. If that makes some sort of sense, hopefully.
I think Ipswich was just the level of quality of the team, and where they're not having a good season. They're bottom 3 for a reason. Brentford, I just thought that was an off game for Brentford, and I think we did defend well. I mean, if you have to praise our defending that day, we.
Do you know what that was down to, though, Dan? And that wasn't actually down to our centre backs. That was actually down to Basuma and Bentancur having each other's back that day, and it was because they were playing DM.
That did help, and also that game we had quite a few out still, didn't we, as well? And we had like Ben Davies at the back, and he kind of rolled up his sleeves and headed everything out. So big up, Nige. It's
hit the link in the chat. Come on, I want to talk to you.
Nige, jump on, have a chat with Marlon. Yeah. Look, we really are scraping a barrel, aren't we, with anything? I get it, Marlon. We're trying to look at something, what you've seen in the last couple of games. I get that, and it's really difficult.
No, and I get it, and I said this on Sabbath show earlier as well. I want to defend Ange. I want it to work out, but I'm working off feelings. I'm not working off stats and facts, and I know feelings are not always. No, I get it. I wouldn't. The feelings are just a complete. I can't keep a manager because of feelings. I get it.
People really like Ange, Marlon, and when Ange speaks, people really listen to him and they believe him.
He's convinced me. Like, to be honest, I was out, and then he convinced me the way he's been. When he's not doing his stupid presses, I don't listen to them anymore. But when I hear him speak and some of the things he comes out with, and some of the things I do hear him say when he's not under pressure in the pressers and he's not irritated,
Yeah.
I probably would run through a brick wall for him. That's the way he just comes across. But when it comes to tactically and the thing, even when I did like him, I've always kind of nitpicked the stuff he's done, and I said it's not going to work, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And for me, I think I'm more hoping it works, because if I went now and asked you what type of manager do you think see working at Tottenham, because I don't see Areola working at Spurs. That's me personally. You might think he is, but I'm looking at the world of football now and going, what manager is going to come and work in this system? I know it's not us for us to choose, and I get that part. But looking at, if we're going to have the patience with the next guy, what sort of thing are you looking for? Like, actually, forget the manager. You don't have to name the manager. What do you want your manager to be able to do?
We know we're never really truly going to challenge under Levy unless they change massively, right? So, as fans, what can we get behind? And it's a decent coach who can get the most out of the team, organise them, make us hard to beat. Like Pochettino has done, like a few managers over the years have done, and managed, like Conte managed to get something going, didn't he, for the time he was here with the players that he had. So it's that, and with that, you always hope that you can win a trophy and challenge for European spots. But under Ange, and he spent quite a lot of money as well, hasn't he? We're nowhere near it, and that Europa League is is really why he's probably still here. Because
do you think that's the reason why he's still here? Because I look at that,
it must be. What else? What other reason would it be? The league form's been atrocious, and also I think Levy and the board have some sympathy with the injuries that he's had.
I think
it's strange, isn't it? It's very strange.
I personally think it's another reason I raised this earlier. I don't think nobody wanted to come into this job halfway through the season.
Could be that as well, yeah.
And Spurs were looking at it and going, and a lot of people were quite vocal.
Wanted, but that So they want Areola. They probably thought it was going to be very difficult to get in because they're in the top 4 race, Bournemouth. You know what I mean? So, and
a lot of managers are probably looking at this as a poison chalice. Like it's got to that point, and I think everyone's kind of forgotten that when we got Nuno, we had 11 managers reject us. When we got Ange, I think it was 7 or 8 before we fell on Ange. So
I don't like this comment in the chat by Luke 77S. His football is very similar to Redknapp. It's nothing.
Luke was the little guy was on before.
I don't like that comment. Redknapp, we were a good side and we were attacking and we defended and we completely.
The only thing that used to pick, you know what? I got peed off with Redknapp. You know when he had Modric, Bale, and he actually had a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone would go, okay, I know everyone goes to that January transfer window. I thought he should have done a lot better with that team.
Well, we did well. We got into the Champions League. You got to remember, under Redknapp, we've never been in the Champions League before he got us.
Yeah. Not that team. It was the year after Bale's emergence. Because he still had Modric, he still had Van der Vaart, and Bale was.
Is this the season when he was linked to the England job?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that went a bit tits up, didn't it?
Yeah.
And we actually even still qualified for Champions League. It's just that we lost it because of
Chelsea. Yeah. I don't think we should have had that much of a slip. I never kind of look. I love Redknapp, and I said I'd have him back, but I never really forgave him for that. But I don't think the ball either.
He'd never really managed at that level. If you think of the clubs he'd managed before.
He should have had the England job, though.
Yeah, he got distracted. He had that court case going on, and again, he wasn't backed again, was he? He wasn't.
No, it was Luis Suarez and Gary Cahill, and we ended up getting Nelson and
Zaha.
Yeah. And Zaha had one good game, and that was against Newcastle, and that was it.
Yeah.
Nelson had a few more, but he won't.
Well, you would love to be there now, wouldn't you, with Redknapp and being up the closest to the top team, wouldn't you, really, if you think back to what we've seen this season, it's been really tough.
Do you know? It has been a tough watch. As a Spurs fan, it has been a tough watch. But I said when I was on the panel show on Wednesday, I did say the one thing that has come out that's been a big positive this year is, even though we've been split as a fan base, even though we're on different pages with certain things when it comes to Levy and Ange, the one thing I found that's been fight, and this is everyone in the YouTube space, everyone who's all the fans that are joining in the chat, and everyone on X. The one thing that we've all been for each other is a therapy session.
Yeah,
Because we're all been going through it, and I think in a few years we'll look at this period and go, a lot of us are stronger. We are stronger together than when we're not. And I just think, like, no matter if you agree with me or not, and people like agree with you or not, and people, I think it's just been an absolute everyone. I think especially after that Leicester game where we lost to Leicester, which Dr. Tottenham turned up.
It's a low moment.
Yeah, even Tottenham turned us away at the moment. But even after that, I feel like a lot of us came together that day.
Yeah.
A lot of us came together.
I mean, Marlon, this is the first season I've joined YouTube, and what a horrible season!
What season?
Start.
Why have you chose?
Every week it's the same discussion.
I blame you.
And yeah, you can blame me, man. I mean, it's been so tough to do and to do content around it. It's the same discussions. It's so challenging.
It is, and it is. It has become that. It has become so challenging. That's why when I did this, because of this now, the third week I've done it, I wanted it to be slightly different, and it has been, because I haven't spoken about Ange for the last two. This is the first time I've actually got to speak about Ange because of the starting lineup. But it's been so tough to just get content out of people, and this is why I've done it as a therapist. Because actually, I wanted people to get things off their chest.
It's good. It's good you're doing it, Marlon.
Yeah. What's your frustration? It's not mine. I've got frustrations too. But what's yours? What's everybody else's? Because what I'm finding, especially doing this and after speaking to people, everyone's different. It's quite funny how everyone's at different points of where they are with Spurs, and
everybody, so many fans have got different expectations, different outlooks on all sorts of things.
And this is what I'm loving hearing.
A lot in YouTube I see, or the people I YouTube with, are very Ange out. Yeah, very unhappy. There's not many people I've had on my shows who are really, really behind Ange, and even the ones who were or changed their mind now just can't see it working at all. So
there's a couple people for me, especially in the YouTube space, and I hope they don't mind me mentioning them, that I've seen that have been broken by Spurs this year, and they were really positive people. So I take J-Rated R, who's been fantastic to this channel, been brilliant for us, and he's usually on the rival show with Ash. But even I've seen him broke this year, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, there was a show we did together, and when he was sitting there and agreeing with us, we're like, what are we doing here? This is not our Jay. Jay's really, like, everyone used to get peed off with Jay because he used to back Levy and whatnot. But he got to a point where he was going, I don't know if what everything I've been saying is right. He's suddenly, I've noticed in the last few weeks, he's starting to come back. But look at Deji Spurs. This is my club. This is that. But he's completely Ange out.
Yeah, God.
So it's when you start seeing things like that, even the positive ones, and even down to Sean. I know he's not been around on the YouTube scene a lot, but even you can see his frustration with the manager.
Yeah, everybody is, aren't they? Everybody is in the end. I think. I mean, there are some still who are behind him, and they want to see what he's like with a fully fit team next season with some new signings. Obviously the club would have learned a lot from this summer. There's too many young players signed, not enough experience.
Yeah.
We will see what happens. We've got 12 games left in the Premier League. Some tough games.
Technically 10. We're not counting Chelsea away and Liverpool away.
It'll be interesting once we've got all our players back. We're really close now.
Yeah.
And to
see. Do you think Van der Ven's coming back?
Huh?
Do you think Van der Ven's coming back? Because we don't ever. They're keeping his one really secret.
It sounds like it. Ange said they're back for the AZ game, so they're resting them. They're being really, precautious with them two players, and they're saving them for the Europa League run. I get that. I think we will see them back. But for me as well, another thing is, what we have left of the rest of the season is that there's just no more excuses from Ange anymore. Once you've got your team back, he's got to put on performances, get wins. Can't keep losing. He can't. And what can he say? Say we've got like an almost fully fit team. Once Solanke comes back as well, and we lose games where we should be winning, what is Ange going to say? What is the excuse going to be then? He's going to run out. Because that's what his biggest excuse is, isn't it? It's been there for the last 2 months. I haven't had my players. He never looks at himself. He never puts it back on him and says, look, I've learnt a lot. It was on me. You know, I should have done this, should have done that. It's always just pointing towards the injuries. And
I get what you mean. Yeah. I was wondering what you said because he's never. Yeah, I get what you mean. I was full because he has taken a lot of the blame, as in he puts the pressure on himself. But you're right in the sense of it's never down the players. He never blamed the players, apart from Werner, which was a bit out of character for him. But he's always blamed. He's never blamed the players, but he's always taken the responsibility on himself and the injuries. And you're kind of like, yeah, but the injuries can only take you so far. Sometimes there's been certain teams that, even with the injuries, if we'd lost to Southampton, then I'd have been really going, you can't use that as an excuse. This is Southampton. He should never have lost to Leicester. I guarantee, you know.
There's loads of them, isn't there, Marlon? There's loads of games, and it's them ones which really is hard to kind of accept. Is those games that we should be winning, we've lost.
Yeah.
And there's been very little games that we've done well in. You know, I can think, you know, City away, Villa at home. There's not been. We really struggle against decent sides all season. Anybody good.
Yeah.
We really, really do struggle, and then we're losing to anybody and everyone. Really, it can happen. This is the problem, isn't it? There's just any team can beat us.
Yeah.
And the Europa League, you know, we should be favourites against AZ. I think we'll have enough to get through over 2 legs, and then obviously it will step up a level when we play Frankfurt or Ajax, and then it.
Who do you think it will be? Do you think it'll be Frankfurt or Ajax? I've got a feeling it's going to be Frankfurt, and I think we'll go out.
Yeah, it could be either two. Ajax are winning the league at the moment, aren't they? In their Frankfurt having a good season. I think they were third. I haven't checked lately, but I heard they were third, having a good season. Obviously, they lost Mamouche, so I don't know how
that could be the only bit where I'd go, yeah, they did lose Mamouche, but you know, if we can play them early enough, I suppose. But
and then it goes to Lazio, isn't it? If we get probably Lazio, well, we all think they could get.
I think it could be Olympiacos. I think Olympiacos have a great shout, and my worry is if we have to play Olympiacos, and the second leg is away, which I believe all the second legs are away for us now.
Yeah.
I can't see them players coping in that atmosphere, because if it's a semi-final, that atmosphere is going to be electric. It's going to be probably one of the. It's going to be. You know, we went to Galatasaray. It's going to be worse than that.
It was, yeah. So the level, the more the games go on in this competition, the harder the match will be, and then you're probably most likely to face Atletico Bilbao in the final at their ground. So look,
You don't believe in Jose and Fenerbahce now?
Yeah, well, that's a possibility, of course. You know, he's a cup specialist, but you know, we'll wait and see. So. Look, I'd be very disappointed. I know I don't rate Ange, but I think with the level of player we have, we should be reaching the semis, really.
With players like Romero.
Yeah.
Romero's a Champions League player. Van der Ven's probably a Champions League player.
Mm-hmm.
Pedro Porro on his day, going forward. And
Suits European football better, Porro, should be okay in that.
Should be okay. I'm trying to think. Bentancur, again, probably could play in the Champions League. If has done, has got experience. They're the players I'm looking at going, yeah, he probably has got enough to probably, and even Son's got quality. Son's got quality, no matter how we want to put it. Son's got quality. They are Champions League players. He should probably be doing it.
But what it will come down to, Marlon, is in when those key moments in these games when it's going to be like you need the manager to step up, and it's to make an important decision. Tactical change, substitution at the right moment, game management.
Yeah.
That's where we will be let down because the players can only take you so far.
So true. Dan, thank you so much. I'm going to end the show here as well with you, so you can stay on. You don't have to disappear, but no, thank you so much for coming on. And as always, I love talking to you because we get to talk about football.
Great chat, Marlon. Thank you for having me on. And
and Nige, where are you? Next time you come on, we want you too. You know,
I'll encourage him on Tuesday.
Yeah. Look, if I ever do these pop-up shows, look, I just want to talk to everybody. I want to talk about football. I want to talk about everything that's going on in the club, and I want to get. At the end of the day, some of my views, like I was asking people to come on and convince me about Archie Gray tonight, and Luke came on. And he's giving me some points about Archie Gray. Whether I take that now and what I do with it is down to me. I'm not going to sit there and argue.
And Marlon, it's so important. Like Luke, you came on different opinions. It is so important to have different opinions, and it just creates discussion, and it makes it interesting. You know, it doesn't have to be about having a go at someone and trying to prove you're right or wrong. It's good to have that kind of
Well,
debate,
he's
fair debate,
yeah, he's an Ange, and even he's sitting there going, "Why did you drop Spence?" So, and I'm with him. But the rest of we both got the rest of the drop-ins. Not drop-ins or resting. I can't stop calling it drops. Resting, but it is what it is. Ange's gonna make mistakes. It's just when he makes a mistake like that and we lose, and it is what it is. It is what it is. And a big thanks to Eugene as well. I better thank Eugene as well for coming on.
I didn't see Eugene in it. Was he?
He was at the beginning.
Has he changed anything? Or was he?
No, he's still the same. He's still the same. I don't know if he believes in Ange.
Was he talking about Maddison earlier? Was he?
No. We weren't talking about Maddison. We left Maddison this week. See, that's what I'm saying. We different. We talk about different things every week, Dan. Yeah. Different things. We don't want to go over the same stuff. But no, thank you again, guys. I love doing these and just seeing what people have got to say, especially since we got no game and Aston Villa went through tonight. And who scored the goals? Asensio. Oh, love to have him right now, wouldn't you?
No doubt. Transfer window compared to ours.
Oh, mate, I said this the other day. Like, our fan base was literally going nuts because we were going to sign Disasi, who's been okay for Villa, and I remember saying I wanted Rashford to come in because I think he'd make an impact for us. I don't need him to play well in every game. He's up and down anyway, and it's like Spurs. And everyone was killing me for it. And I was thinking, well, look at Tell. Well, look at Tell, who's young, right? And this is not Tell's a bad player. Tell is coming to a league that it's completely different to the German league. He's 19. He's not of age, and he's come on loan. He needs to make an impact. Unfortunately, he's in a difficult situation because he's come to a club that not doing great. Where Rashford could probably come into Spurs and probably have made a bit of a difference.
Look, Marlon, I don't rate Rashford, but if you look at experienced players to come in and make an impact, Rashford would have made one.
He would have made one. I think.
Consistently, one good game, one bad game. But
which is basically had for Villa. He's pretty much done that for Villa. Yeah. So
he's offered something, isn't he?
He's offered something.
The other day, didn't he? He had a couple of assists, right? I think.
Yeah, and Asensio again scoring. Asensio, this is the guy that's banging him. Yeah, banging him guys goals from outside for Real Madrid a few years ago under Zidane. Went to Paris, didn't work out, and he seems to be producing it for Emery.
Quality player, isn't he?
Seems to, yeah. That's the difference between when you got Champions League football and when you need somebody to take you back. To difference between.
Other than Danso, and Danso I think's been okay. I think he's done really well. And in the other two, the goalie we didn't really need, and Tell it wasn't the right one. Wasn't the right guy to bring in for what we needed in that moment. He's so raw, isn't he? He could potentially be a good player, but
I think he will be. I think he will be. Just it won't be at Spurs.
Yeah, and the thing is, when Solanke comes back, we won't see Tell at all because you've got Wilson covering Son on the left. We'll see very little of Tell, and it's just be, just a bit of a nothing loan sign.
I've got a feeling Tell will play on the right. To be honest,
it's an option.
He'll be better than Johnson.
It's an option, isn't it? It's an option. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? The next 10 games, see what he does.
But no, Dan, thank you. Thank you to everyone in the chat again. Brilliant. Because I love the new option where I can just see the chat at the bottom, so everyone just comes up. No matter what you say, you're just going to come up automatically now. But it's just to get good at what we're talking about so we can interact with the chat as well. But Dan, thank you for being the last guest.
Take care, boys.
Take care. As always, come on, you Spurs. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe as well to Spurs Kings TV. And make sure you go over to Spurs Dadaist as well. YouTube channel. Make sure you go over there. Make sure you subscribe to him as well because he's trying to create great content as well. Unfortunately, he joined YouTube at the wrong time.
Don't hold that against me.
Yeah, but but him and Nigel do a great show on a Tuesday, which unfortunately, because of what I do on a Tuesday, it's hard for me to get on. But I need one time in the summer. I'll definitely come on. As promised, I'll definitely come on to have a chat with you and Nigel as well on that because Ash has done it and I need to do it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
All right. But thanks all. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Luke, Kiwi, Spurs. Let me see if I can name everyone. Binny Guy, Daniel Huang. Sorry if I've messed up your name. Ben Kaufman as usual. Brilliant. DJ John, NYD, Kev G. Who else am I missing? I've said Kiwi Spurs. Nigel, of course, Kev G, Nita. Who else am I missing? Oh my god, it's just gone. You know when my chat's just gone back to redoing it. If Elijah was on it, Elijah was talking in the chat earlier. Who else do I want to thank? Nita, thanks. Mr. John Spurs, thank you for joining in the chat. Adam as well, thank you for joining. B, that's all that's there. So thank you to B as well. Oh, Tintin61, thank you. Who else joined us earlier? Make sure I haven't missed anyone. And I'm really sorry if I have missed you. Big up to Henry Fong TV, was right at the beginning. But yeah, thanks everyone in the chat. Thanks as always. Come on, you Spurs. Leave you out or not? Leave you in? Leave you out? Angie and Angie out. Cheers. Bye.
See you later.